Chapter 3. On the Run. Edward was determined to find his beloved Isabella. He asked the villagers if they had seen anyone matching her description, but they hadn't. He scoured the nearby woods and fields, but there was no sign of her. Desperate, he turned to a wise old woman who was known for her knowledge of the ways of the world. She listened to Edward's story and nodded thoughtfully. "I know of a man who may be able to help," she said. "He is a tracker, and he has helped many find lost loved ones." Without hesitation, Edward set off to find the tracker. It took him several days of hard travel, but eventually he came upon a small village where the tracker was said to live. The tracker was a grizzled old man with deep lines etched into his face. He listened to Edward's story and agreed to help. "I will need something of your wife's," he said. "A lock of hair or a piece of clothing." Edward dug through his belongings and found a small ribbon that Isabella had worn in her hair. He handed it to the tracker, who closed his eyes and concentrated. After a few moments, he opened his eyes and pointed to the west. "She is there," he said. "But beware, the road is treacherous, and there are many dangers along the way." Edward thanked the tracker and set off in the direction he had been given, determined to find his wife no matter what the cost. As he traveled, he encountered bandits, wild animals, and treacherous terrain. But he was determined, and he pressed on. Finally, he came across a camp for outlaws in a clearing. He approached cautiously, unsure of what he would find. As the night fell, Prince Edward quietly snuck into the camp. His heart raced with fear and excitement as he searched for Isabella. He moved silently through the shadows, avoiding any sign of danger. Finally, he found her. Isabella was tied up and surrounded by the bandits. Edward knew he had to act fast. With a swift and calculated move, he attacked the bandits and freed Isabella. As they ran back to their cottage, Edward and Isabella couldn't believe what had just happened. They were alive and together again, but the danger was still lurking. They had to leave the forest as soon as possible. Edward and Isabella made their escape from the bandit camp, but they knew they couldn't rest easy just yet. The remaining bandits were surely on their trail, seeking revenge for the prince's intrusion. They ran for hours through the dark forest, the sound of footsteps behind them growing fainter with every step. As they reached a clearing, they spotted a small cottage in the distance. With no other options, they decided to seek refuge there. The owner of the cottage, an elderly woman, welcomed them inside and listened to their tale of adventure and danger. As they rested by the fire, they could hear the sound of horses approaching. The bandits had caught up with them. The old woman quickly hid Edward and Isabella in a secret room and then bravely confronted the bandits. The bandits searched the cottage but found nothing. They left, cursing and threatening the old woman. As soon as they were gone, Edward and Isabella emerged from their hiding place, grateful for the woman's courage and kindness. But they knew they couldn't stay there for long. They needed to keep moving, to find a safe place to rest and plan their next move. With a heavy heart, they said their goodbyes to the kind old woman and continued on their journey. Chapter 4. A New Beginning. Edward and Isabella finally made it back to Edward's kingdom after their long and treacherous journey. They were exhausted, but relieved to be back home. However, they couldn't shake off the feeling that they had to do something about the insecurity of the kingdom's roads. As soon as they arrived, they summoned the kingdom's council and shared their experiences. The council listened intently as Edward and Isabella recounted their story, including their encounter with the bandits and the dangers they had faced on the road. The council was alarmed by what they heard and agreed that action needed to be taken. They brainstormed ideas on how to make the kingdom a safer place to live in, and Edward and Isabella spearheaded the efforts. First, they increased the number of guards along the kingdom's roads and built watchtowers at strategic locations. They also created a group of scouts to patrol the roads and report any suspicious activity. They made sure that the kingdom's citizens were well educated on safety measures while traveling and started a campaign to encourage them to travel in groups. As a result of these efforts, the roads became much safer, and the citizens could travel without fear. Trade flourished, and the economy of the kingdom improved. The people of the kingdom were grateful to Edward and Isabella for their efforts and hailed them as heroes. As Isabella settled into her new life with Edward, she found herself happier than she had ever been before. No longer did she feel trapped in her tower or lonely in her thoughts. With Edward by her side, she felt as though anything was possible. Together, they worked to make their kingdom a better place to live and put an end to the banditry that had once plagued their lands. As the years went by, Isabella watched with pride as the kingdom she and Edward had built flourished. She knew that she had found her true calling in life and that she was exactly where she was meant to be. And as she looked into Edward's eyes, she knew that she was happy, truly happy, with the life they had built together.